You ready for this? We're diving deep into the world of innovation today. And not just with anyone, we've got insights straight from Mo Gawdat.
Mo Gawdat. Yeah, talk about learning from the best.
Yeah.
This is the guy who was running things as the chief business officer at Google.
Exactly. He was right there in the thick of it, watching innovation happen.
Yeah.
And it's not just Google, right? This is also the guy who wrote the literal book on happiness, Solve for Happy.
Right, right.
But okay, today we're focusing on his thoughts on AI. You know, how AI is going to turn all of us into innovation superstars, hopefully.
It's a fascinating topic. And honestly, what I love about Mo Gawdat's approach is how he makes innovation so simple. Like he strips away all the complexity. He actually says that at its core, innovation is just finding any solution to a problem, any solution at all, as long as it hasn't been tried before.
Oh, wow. See, now that sounds like almost too easy, right?
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's a little more nuanced than that.
It is. A lot of people get tripped up because they mix up innovation with creativity, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
We think we need to be like artistic geniuses to be innovative.
Yeah, exactly. Like we need to have some incredible stroke of genius to come up with something brand new. It can be really intimidating, to be honest.
Totally. But that's where Mo Gawdat says, hold on a second. Creativity? That's like making something completely from scratch. But innovation, he says, think of it like you've got all these Lego blocks. And those Lego blocks, those are your existing ideas and your knowledge that you've already got. Innovation is about taking those pieces and building something awesome and new with them.
Ah, that's a great analogy. Okay, I like that. So instead of reinventing the wheel, we're remixing the Legos. So like think of the iPod. That wasn't some crazy new technology that appeared out of nowhere, right?
Exactly. It was taking what already existed. You've got digital music, small storage, that sleek Apple design, and boom, they just brought it together in a way that nobody had thought to before.
Right, and it was revolutionary.
It changed everything.
Okay, so that's a light bulb moment for me. So
Yeah.
it's not about being the next Einstein. It's about being able to look at what's already around us, maybe the stuff we see every day, and finding those unexpected uses for it, those connections that nobody else is making.
You've got it. That's innovation in a nutshell. And, Mo Gawdat would know, right? He spent a ton of time at Google X, which, if you don't know, is their super secret innovation lab. He was literally surrounded by geniuses all the time.
Oh, wow. Okay, so spill the tea. What's the secret sauce? What did all those crazy, smart innovators have in common? What makes them tick?
Well, from what Mo Gawdat observed, first and foremost, they were all unbelievably, almost unreasonably passionate about something.
Really?
And it wasn't just a casual interest either. It was something really specific.
Interesting. Okay.
He actually calls it unreasonable passion and says it's like a key ingredient in unlocking innovation.
Unreasonable passion. Give me an example. I want to know what that looks like in action.
Okay, picture this. You're working on Google Loon.
The internet balloons.
Yes. Super cool project. So they bring in this woman named Samantha, and she's are you ready for this? A stitch stress analyst.
A what now? A stick stress analyst. I didn't even know that was a job.
I know, right? Sounds totally random. But she's the expert in how stress impacts different kinds of stitching. And guess what? Because of her crazy specific knowledge, they're able to make the loon balloons last way longer.
Oh, wow. So that's a critical component.
Huge deal for the project.
Okay, so her unreasonable passion for stitches helped bring the internet to remote parts of the world.
Exactly.
That's kind of amazing when you think about it.
It is.
But it wasn't just her, right? It sounds like what you're saying is that Mo Gawdat believes you need a whole team of these passionately obsessed people to really get things moving, to get to a place of true innovation.
Absolutely. It's like Steve Jobs said, great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people.
Okay, point taken. So find your people who geek out about the stuff that lights them up, even if it seems a little out there, and bring them together. Now you've got me thinking, what am I unreasonably passionate about?
I love that question. That is the first step to unlocking your own innovative potential right there. But of course, it's not enough to just have that passion, right? You need the right environment for those ideas to actually grow. And trust me, Mo Gawdat has some very insightful thoughts on how to actually build that space where innovation can flourish.
Okay, so we've got our dream team of passionate people, right? Everyone's excited, bursting with ideas. Now what? How do we actually build that environment, that space, where those sparks of inspiration can actually turn into something real? Because, let's be real, most workplaces feel like, I don't know, innovation graveyards.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Too many rules, so much bureaucracy. It's like they pave the road to innovation with red tape,
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Mo Gawdat, He actually lays out this really clear roadmap, this plan for creating the kind of environment where innovation can actually thrive.
Mm.
And guess what? It all starts with alignment.
Alignment. Okay, so you're talking about like everyone being on the same page, working towards that shared vision.
Exactly. Think of it like a band,
Yeah.
right? You got all these crazy talented musicians, each with their own unique style, their own sound. But if they're not all playing the same song, if they don't have that shared musical vision, it's just noise.
Ooh, yeah, okay, I like that analogy. So it's not enough to just have those passionate people. They have to be passionate about the same thing.
Exactly. Mo Gawdat says you need that shared mission, that common goal that everybody is collectively moving towards. Because when everyone's rowing in the same direction, that's when the magic happens. That's when innovation really takes off.
Okay.
But it's not just about a shared vision, right?
Right.
Remember that red tape I mentioned?
Yeah.
You got to cut through that. And a big part of that is defining clear roles and responsibilities within the team.
Okay, so no more office politics. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. That sounds kind of utopian, honestly. But I don't know, isn't there a danger of getting too structured? Like, doesn't innovation also require, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of room to experiment and play?
You're totally right. You need that. And Mo Gawdat actually acknowledges this. He says, we have to be willing to embrace the mess. Innovation is rarely a straight line from A to B.
Never is it.
It's messy, it's iterative, there are going to be wrong turns, there are going to be dead ends along the way.
So don't be afraid to experiment, even if it means you might fall flat on your face sometimes.
Exactly. He actually uses this phrase. He says, organizations need to embrace quick failure.
Quick failure.
It's about trying things out, but on a small scale, learning from those experiments and then adapting quickly. You don't want to be throwing tons of money and resources at an idea that you haven't even tested out yet. Think of it like prototyping your way to success.
Ooh, I love that. Prototyping your way to success, because so many companies, they're so afraid to try new things because they're paralyzed by this fear of failure. But really, wouldn't you rather find out quickly that something's not working and then adjust course? Rather than spending years and tons of money on a project that was doomed from the start.
Absolutely. And this actually ties into another important point that Mo Gawdat makes, which is this idea of the innovation cycle.
Okay.
He says that we need to recognize that different stages of a project actually require different skills, different personalities.
Oh, that's so true. Like the person who comes up with that initial spark of an idea, that might not be the best person to manage the project to completion.
Exactly. It's like a relay race. You need different runners for different legs of the race, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing that, being willing to adapt and transition roles as a project evolves, that's crucial for creating a truly dynamic and innovative environment. Okay, but let's get real for a second.
Yeah.
We're talking about passion, we're talking about innovation. All this is great, but what about those things that really hold us back in the real world? I'm talking about lack of time, lack of resources, that constant pressure to deliver results like yesterday. Those are the innovation killers in my book.
Right. It's like you can't even begin to think about being innovative when you're drowning in deadlines and spreadsheets. Like, who has the mental space for that? But I'm guessing Mo Gawdat has something to say about this, right?
You bet he does. And get this, he actually challenges this whole idea that we don't have enough resources.
Okay.
He says that most organizations, that they have plenty of resources. It's just that those resources are being used incredibly inefficiently. He actually says, and this is a pretty bold statement, that 80% of people are wasting time in most companies. 80%.
80%. Okay, I'm going to need him to elaborate on that one.
Think about your own workday, right? How many meetings have you been in that could have just been an email?
Oh, so many.
How much time do you spend on tasks that could be easily automated? Are you really truly focusing on those projects that are actually going to move the needle for your company? Or are you just bogged down in busy work?
Okay, ouch. I feel very personally attacked right now. But I see his point. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day that we lose sight of the bigger picture.
Exactly. And this is where Mo Gawdat actually challenges our obsession with long-term plans, especially in the world that we live in today. Everything's changing so quickly. I mean, who knows what the landscape of any industry is going to look like 5 years from now.
Right. Your 5-year plan could be irrelevant before the ink even dries.
Exactly. So instead of getting bogged down in these elaborate long-term strategies, he advocates for a much more agile approach.
Okay.
He actually calls it short-term thinking. But don't let that fool you. It's not about being short-sighted. It's about breaking things down into smaller, more manageable chunks. Experimenting, adapting quickly based on what you learn. It's about constantly iterating, constantly evolving.
Okay, so Less grand plans, more quick wins. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
But how do you actually put that into practice?
This is where what he calls his $50,000 rule comes in.
The $50,000 rule.
Okay.
Okay, is he like handing out cash prizes for good ideas?
Laughter. I love it. I love the enthusiasm. No, it's even better than that. He's basically saying, look, empower your teams to test out their ideas, but to do it quickly and cheaply.
Sure.
Don't wait for a huge budget approval or months of planning. Just go for it. If you can validate an idea with a $50,000 experiment, amazing.
Yeah.
Go for it. Invest more. If not, hey, at least you learned something valuable and you can quickly move on to the next thing without having wasted a ton of time and resources.
I'm sensing a pattern here. Mo Gawdat is all about action. Less talking, more doing.
Absolutely.
And speaking of things that prevent us from taking action, can we talk about stress for a second? Because I
Yeah.
feel like that is a huge one for me.
Oh, absolutely. You and everyone else. But what I love is that Mo Gawdat, he doesn't just want us to slap on a meditation app and call it a day. He goes deep
Yeah.
into the science of stress, how it actually impacts our brains, our ability to think clearly, to be creative, to come up with those innovative solutions.
Okay, this I gotta hear. Hit me with the wisdom, Mo Gawdat. Okay, stress, stress, stress. It's like that annoying house guest that just never wants to leave,
It
right?
really is.
And you know it's bad for you, but there's this little part of you, at least for me, that's like, but wait, doesn't pressure make diamonds? Like, maybe we need a little bit of stress to really get those creative juices flowing.
I know, right?
Oh.
It's like this weird badge of honor that we all wear. Oh, I'm so stressed. But Mo Gawdat is like, nope, that's a myth. And it's actually holding us back.
Really?
Yeah, he says that while a little bit of pressure can be motivating, when we're talking about chronic stress, that actually just shuts down the parts of our brains that allow us to be creative.
So all those late nights,
Yeah.
mainlining coffee, trying to hit a deadline, probably not doing my best work then.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Marigod says is that we can't just like power through stress. We can't just muscle our way through it. We need to actively limit it, especially when we're talking about the workplace. And he actually gives this really interesting example from, of course, Google. Remember those like legendary Google buses?
Oh, yeah. Weren't those like tricked out, like luxury apartments on wheels or something?
Yeah, basically. Google, they realized their employees were getting burned out, you know?
Mm.
Those crazy long commutes, the traffic, the stress. So they created these amazing buses, and I'm talking like Wi-Fi, workspaces, even coffee shops on these things.
Oh, what? Okay, now that's a commute I can get behind.
Right.
So people could actually like start their workday, relaxed, refreshed, and like already being productive. Okay, I see how that fits into this whole innovation thing.
Exactly.
Less hustle culture, more intentional chill. I like it.
Absolutely. And Mo Gawdat, he actually breaks it down even further. He gives us this really simple framework. He calls it the 3 L's.
Ooh, I love a good acronym. All right, hit me. What are the 3 L's?
Okay, so we've got learn, which is pretty self-explanatory, right? Educate yourself. Learn about stress, what it actually is, how it works in your body and your brain, how to recognize the signs of stress in yourself. The more you understand it, the better equipped you'll be to actually manage it effectively.
Okay, knowledge is power. Right.
100%. Then we have limit, which we've kind of touched on already, but it's about actively identifying the stressors in your life and figuring out ways to minimize those stressors. So maybe it's turning off notifications, saying no to that extra meeting, finally tackling that pile of papers on your desk.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Right.
Okay, what about the last L?
Okay, so the last L is listen. And this one is all about tuning in, first and foremost, to yourself, your own needs. Are you feeling burned out? Do you need a break? Are you taking care of yourself? But it's not just about you. It's about listening to your teammates. Are they feeling overwhelmed? Are their needs being met? Because creating that culture where people feel safe and comfortable actually expressing their needs and where those needs are taken seriously, that is huge for creating a work environment that's actually healthy, that's sustainable, and that ultimately allows innovation to thrive.
Yeah, it's like that saying, right? You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about unlocking that inner innovator, creating the right environment, managing the stress of it all. But there's this one big thing that we haven't really talked about yet, kind of like this elephant in the innovation room.
Okay.
And that is AI.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's talking about it, but nobody really knows what it means for us regular humans, So what is Mo Gawdat's take? Is AI our friend or foe when it comes to innovation?
It's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that Meek got it. He doesn't shy away from how complex it is. He's actually very optimistic about the potential of AI to be a force for good in the world,
Right.
especially when we're talking about short-term benefits. Imagine AI that can process huge amounts of data from every field imaginable. Medicine, engineering, climate science, you name it. AI could connect the dots in ways that would take us humans, you know, decades, maybe even centuries to do on our own.
So instead of replacing us, AI could actually help us solve some of the world's biggest problems, even accelerate that process. That's actually a really hopeful way to look at it.
It is. But, and this is a big but, Mugadat also acknowledges that the long-term implications, we're talking about creating something potentially more intelligent than ourselves, and that gets a little, well, kind of terrifying when you really think about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like that scene in every sci-fi movie where the robots become self-aware and then they decide humans are kind of irrelevant. Best case scenario, we're pets. Laughter.
Exactly. And he's not naive about those risks. He says that as AI continues to evolve, we're going to have to really rethink some of our core values, our social structures, maybe even our definition of work itself. This isn't just about learning some new software. It's about adapting to a whole new reality.
Okay, that's a lot to process. So it's not all doom and gloom, but we can't just bury our heads in the sand and pretend this isn't happening. We have to be really intentional about how we navigate this AI-powered future. But what does that look like? How do we prepare for something that feels like it's changing so rapidly?
It is changing quickly. But luckily, Mo Gawdat gives us some really practical advice for how to navigate this new world. He says that we need to be really intentional about developing three essential skills: AI tool proficiency, truth discernment, and ethical AI application.
Okay, I'm listening. Break it down for me.
Okay, so AI tool proficiency, that one's pretty straightforward. It's not enough to just be tech savvy anymore, right? We need to become fluent in those specific AI tools that are going to be relevant to our particular fields, whatever that may be.
Got it. So it's like learning a new language. We got to learn how to speak AI.
Exactly. Then there's truth discernment, which is becoming increasingly critical in a world that's just saturated with AI-generated content. Think deepfakes, AI-written articles. It's getting harder and harder to tell what's real and what's not.
Yeah, for sure. And it's only going to get trickier as this technology gets more sophisticated.
Exactly. Which is why this third essential skill, ethical AI application, is so important.
Hmm.
It's not enough to just know how to use AI. We have to constantly be asking ourselves these really tough questions. How are we using it? Are we using it in a way that actually aligns with our values that benefits humanity? Or are we, creating more problems than we're solving?
Right. We have a responsibility here. It's like we're not just coding algorithms, we're coding the future.
Exactly. And that actually brings us back to something that Mo Gawdat emphasizes throughout all of his work. And that is this idea that even in a world that's becoming increasingly driven by technology, what makes us truly irreplaceable, what makes
Hmm.
us essentially human, that's
Yeah.
our humanity.
Our ability to connect with each other on a human level, to empathize, to build those meaningful relationships. Those are the things that AI just can't replicate.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. Would you rather interact with like a flawless but totally robotic AI customer service agent or a human who actually listens to your problem, who makes you feel heard and understood, even if they don't have all the answers right away?
Oh, human connection every time, hands down.
Right. And that's what's so inspiring about Murgodat's message, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, the world is changing so quickly, and yeah, AI is going to transform the way we live and work in ways we can't even imagine. But in all of that change, it's our capacity for human connection, for empathy, for compassion. That's where our true power lies. And honestly, I think that's something to be really excited about.
Absolutely. That is a really powerful message. And a perfect place to wrap up our deep dive into the brilliant mind of Mo Gawdat. We've covered so much ground today, everything from, redefining what innovation really means to how to tap into those innovative powers that we all have within us to, how to navigate this exciting and sometimes Leslie terrifying world of AI. But more than anything, we hope this deep dive has left you with a renewed sense of possibility and maybe even a little bit of hope for the future. Because even though things are changing so fast, it's that human ability to connect, to learn, to grow. That's what makes us human. And that is something to be truly excited about.